They lied to you. They said go to school, get good grades, and success will follow. But what they never told you is this: some of the most educated people in the world are broke, frustrated, and confused. Why? Because education is not the key. Purpose is. You see, we've been programmed to chase degrees instead of discovering destiny. But let me ask you this: if education guarantees success, why are so many of the world's leaders visionaries and billionaires college dropouts? It's because they found something school couldn't teach themselves. Education trains the mind, not the vision. Most people don't realize this. But there's a massive difference between training the mind and discovering the vision. Education, as we've been taught, is about sharpening the intellect, developing memory, logic, and comprehension. But vision doesn't come from books. Vision is not found in a classroom. Vision is discovered when you confront who you really are and what you were placed on earth to do. Education teaches you how to think, but it often never tells you why you think. And that distinction is the reason why millions are educated, but directionless. You can graduate at the top of your class and still feel lost in life. You can know every historical date, solve advanced math problems, speak multiple languages, and still have no idea what you were born to do. Because education teaches you about the world, but it doesn't teach you about your world. It gives you facts, but rarely helps you interpret your future. It teaches theories of success, but often ignores the unique seed of purpose within you. Let me break it down like this. A knife in the hands of a skilled chef becomes a tool of creativity and provision. That same knife in the hands of someone blind to its purpose can cause damage. It's not about the tool, it's about vision. Education is a tool, but if you don't have a clear vision, you misuse the tool. We've got too many people with sharpened minds and dull vision, highly educated but spiritually empty, trained to succeed by the world's standards, but failing in their assignment because they don't even know what their assignment is. How many people do you know with master's degrees, doctorates, certifications, who are sitting at home depressed, anxious, unfulfilled? They did what society told them. Go to school, study hard, get the certificate. But nobody told them to find themselves. They were taught to get in line, not to stand out. So now they work 9 to 5 jobs they hate, living for weekends, surviving on coffee and coping through entertainment, educated but stuck. Because their minds were trained, but their vision was never awakened. Take the example of someone who goes to college to become a lawyer because it sounds prestigious. Maybe they get the degree, pass the bar, wear the suit, earn the money. But every day they wake up with heaviness in their chest because deep down they know, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what happens when you educate the mind but ignore the calling. Your soul keeps sending signals: restlessness, frustration, fatigue. Not because you're not smart, but because you're not aligned. There's a man in a village who never went to school, but he knows how to build furniture from trees. He doesn't have a diploma, but people line up to pay him because he produces value. His vision trained his hands, and now his hands feed his family. And then you look at the young graduate in the city with a degree in marketing but no job because he followed a path without a purpose. One is trained by vision, the other by systems. And vision always wins. You can read 100 books, attend every seminar, graduate with honors, and still be an employee of someone who simply knew who they were. Think about that. It's not that education is useless. Far from it. But education without self-discovery is like a map with no destination. What good is it to have direction if you don't know where you're going? The truth is, vision comes from within. And education at best is meant to support that vision, not define it. But we've reversed the order. We let institutions tell us who we should be instead of listening to our own inner voice. And that's why people keep switching careers, taking courses they'll never use, and settling for a paycheck instead of pursuing their passion. You were born with something no school can give you. It's called potential. And potential can't be taught. It must be uncovered. It's not found in lectures. It's found in silence, reflection, and courage. Courage to ask, why am I here? What problem was I born to solve? Because the moment you see your vision, your life changes. You stop competing, you stop copying, you stop comparing. You become clear, and clarity is more powerful than any curriculum. Think of Steve Jobs. He dropped out of college, but he never dropped out of purpose. He educated his mind only to the extent that it served his vision. He wasn't trained by the system. He was trained by curiosity and conviction. That's what real success looks like. When the inner voice becomes louder than the outside noise. So the next time someone says, get an education, that's the key to success, smile and ask them, what if I already have the key inside me? Because you do. You just need to stop looking outward and start digging inward. Education may polish your mind, but only vision will light your path. School prepares you for jobs, not purpose. From the very beginning, we are told a story that sounds safe. A story that says, go to school, get good grades, find a job, and live a good life. But here's the truth. They never told you school prepares you to find a job, not to discover your purpose. The entire system is designed to make you employable, not impactful. You were born with greatness, but they trained you to settle for employment. And so millions of people today are living quiet lives of desperation, not because they failed school, but because school failed to recognize their calling. Imagine a young girl who loves painting. She can spend hours with a brush and canvas, lost in creativity, expressing emotions words could never capture. But when she enters school, they tell her art is not practical. Focus on math, science, business. And so little by little, she abandons her gift. Not because she didn't love it, but because the system told her it wouldn't get her a job. That same girl grows up, gets a business degree, and ends up working in a corporate office, staring out the window every lunch break, wondering why she feels so empty. Her gift never left her. Her purpose never died. It was just buried under expectations. You see, school is a factory. It is structured to produce workers, not visionaries. It rewards obedience over originality. It celebrates answers more than questions. The student who memorizes the textbook is praised, but the student who challenges the system is labeled difficult. But life doesn't reward those who obey. It rewards those who create. In school, you're taught to follow instructions. In life, success comes to those who break the mold. That's why we see people who were C average students becoming employers of A-grade graduates. It's not a mistake, it's a message. In classrooms, you are told what to think. But your purpose demands that you ask why. Why am I drawn to this idea? Why do I feel this passion inside me? Why does my heart beat faster when I talk about this one thing? These are the questions school rarely entertains. And yet, they are the exact questions that unlock the doors to purpose. Let's be honest, how many people do you know who went to school for years only to end up in a field that has nothing to do with the degree? How many of them wake up dreading Mondays and counting down to weekends? It's because they were trained to take a job, not to pursue a calling. A job pays the bills, but purpose fuels the soul. A job gives you a paycheck, but purpose gives you peace. Think about a man who became an engineer because his parents said it was a good career. He gets the degree, lands a respectable position, earns well. But deep inside, he knows something's off. Every day, he feels like he's wearing a mask. He starts feeling anxious, restless. Not because he isn't smart, but because he's misaligned. He loves working with people, motivating them, leading conversations, but there's no space for that on his job site. What's happening to him is simple. He's functioning outside of his purpose, and no amount of education can replace that internal misfire. We were created for impact, not routine. But school doesn't teach you how to find your unique impact. It teaches you how to fit into a role. That's why they ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? Instead of asking, what problem were you born to solve? That one question could shift a child's entire destiny, because success is not about titles, it's about solutions. And purpose is always tied to solving a problem. Have you noticed how some of the most fulfilled people in the world never chase traditional careers? The baker who finds joy in feeding a community. The mechanic who treats every engine like art. The speaker who transforms lives with every word. They may not have the most degrees, but they have the deepest satisfaction because they aligned with their gift. Their schooling may have ended, but their learning began when they found their lane. When you only pursue what school teaches you, you may become educated but not fulfilled. In school, you learn the curriculum, but in purpose, you learn yourself. And until you learn yourself, you're always going to feel like something is missing. Because it is. Even the structure of school mirrors this. Every subject has a fixed period. A bell tells you when to start, when to stop. You're graded, ranked, compared, and told your worth based on how well you conform. But purpose doesn't ring a bell. It's not confined to subjects. It's messy, alive, and deeply personal. It pulls you towards something bigger than a job description. It asks for your heart, not just your head. So many people are caught in careers that pay well but feel wrong. And they stay, not because they love it, but because they were never taught to pursue anything deeper than security. But here's the reality: purpose is risky, but it's always worth it. Because when you live on purpose, even your pain becomes part of your mission. Even your detours carry meaning. And every day becomes a chance to make impact, not just income. You weren't created to just make a living. You were created to make a difference. School may give you tools, but only purpose gives you direction. You can build a life with education, but you build legacy through purpose. Many educated people are broke. There's something deeply ironic happening in our world today, something nobody wants to talk about. Walk into any city, take a seat at a cafe, and you'll see it. You'll see a man reading the newspaper with 3 degrees, and yet he's jobless. You'll see a woman holding a master's certificate on her wall, but she can't afford to pay her rent on time. Go to the job center and you'll find rows of brilliant, well-educated individuals, unemployed, underpaid, or simply stuck. What happened? How did we get here? The answer is chillingly simple: education doesn't guarantee wealth. Because many educated people are broke, and not just financially broke. Many are mentally exhausted, emotionally drained, spiritually empty. They spent years in classrooms, passed every test, collected every certificate, and now find themselves in a system that doesn't value their potential, only their productivity. They were told education was the guarantee to success. They did everything right, followed the instructions, and now they're asking, why do I still feel behind in life? Imagine a man who studied economics for 6 years. He graduated with honors, top of his class. But now he works in a call center, barely making ends meet. He's drowning in student debt. And every time he applies for a better job, they tell him, you're overqualified or you lack experience. So he's trapped, overqualified for the entry level, underexperienced for management. He was told that education would open doors, but nobody told him that real wealth doesn't come from degrees. It comes from value. The world pays for value, not paper. Think about this. You can memorize every formula, understand macro and microeconomics, and still not know how to multiply your income. You can have a PhD in business and still struggle to manage your household bills. Because education sharpens the mind, but it doesn't always unlock creativity. It conditions you to work for others, not build for yourself. It teaches you how to find a job, but rarely how to create one. Go into any university and ask students what they're studying. You'll hear law, medicine, engineering, accounting. But ask them why, and most won't know. Because it's a good career. Because my parents said so. Because it pays well. But what happens when the job market crashes? What happens when AI replaces roles? What happens when degrees become common? But innovation is rare. We end up with educated people, well-dressed, articulate, intelligent, but broke, stuck, and disillusioned. You see, the wealthiest people in the world aren't always the most educated by institutional standards. They're educated in value creation. They understand problems and create solutions. They find needs and fill them. That's what the marketplace rewards. Solutions, not diplomas. There are barbers, plumbers, tailors, artists, and online entrepreneurs who never sat in a university lecture hall, but they own homes, run businesses, travel freely, and hire people with MBAs. Why? Because they understood something the system high to school may teach you: how to pass exams, but life tests you in ways the classroom never prepared you for. There's no textbook for vision, no syllabus for purpose, no curriculum for courage. Life pays those who refuse to settle, who think beyond the lecture notes, who use their education as a tool, not a crutch. There's a woman who sells organic soap online. She never went to university, but she understood the power of branding, consistency, and digital marketing. Her business now makes 6 figures annually, and she mentors other women to do the same. Meanwhile, her old school friends with degrees in business management are still searching for employment. It's not about how many years you studied. It's about what you produced with the knowledge you gained. Many educated people are broke because they equated academic success with financial wisdom. They assumed that because they were smart in school, money would follow naturally. But the truth is, money doesn't follow intelligence. It follows value, discipline, creativity, and risk-taking. And sadly, these aren't taught in school. Nobody teaches you how to build assets. Nobody teaches you how to master your emotions, invest wisely, or negotiate deals. Nobody tells you that passion can be monetized or that social skills can make you millions. So the man with the degree works for the man with the vision. The woman with the honors list ends up applying to the woman who turned her passion for cooking into a franchise. It's not to discredit education. It has its place. But we must open our eyes. We must stop glorifying certificates and start teaching capacity, because your ability to think, adapt, and create is more profitable than your ability to recite textbooks. The world is filled with broke geniuses and wealthy dropouts. It's not about who's smarter. It's about who has the courage to think independently and solve problems. So the next time someone flaunts their degree like a badge of honor, ask them, what problem are you solving? What value are you creating? Because at the end of the day, it's not the one who knows the most who gets paid. It's the one who does the most with what they know. Information without revelation is frustration. Information without revelation is frustration. You can sit in the finest classrooms, read the thickest books, score the highest marks, but if what you learn never connects to who you are, you will live a life of quiet suffering, dressed in success, but haunted by emptiness. Information fills your head, but revelation awakens your spirit. One gives you memory, the other gives you meaning. And too many people today are living with information overload and identity starvation. They know everything except why they are here. Think about the student who graduates with honors in philosophy. They can quote Aristotle, Plato, Descartes. They know theories, arguments, debates. But the moment life hits them with disappointment, betrayal, failure, they crumble. Because all that information never taught them how to handle pain. They were trained in abstract knowledge, but not in personal understanding. That's what happens when you collect data but never connect it to destiny. When you know what, but you never understand why. Revelation is what gives purpose to information. It is when what you know becomes real, becomes you. It's when you read a line and something inside you jumps. It's when a truth doesn't just sound good, it feels right, like something you always knew but finally found the words for. You don't just say, I read it. You say, this is me. That's revelation. That's what transforms knowledge into power. Without it, knowledge becomes weight. It makes you feel smarter, but not freer. And that's the dangerous part, because a mind full of information can look intelligent on the outside, but be trapped on the inside. Many people live frustrated lives because they thought information would fix them. They thought, if I get another degree, if I attend another seminar, if I read more books, then maybe I'll feel fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't come from how much you know. It comes from how well you live what you know. It comes from turning information into alignment, into action, into identity. A man can study relationships, read 5 books on love languages, and still not know how to keep a marriage. Why? Because information isn't transformation. Transformation happens when what you know becomes what you live. It's not enough to know principles, you have to embody them. You have to breathe them, speak them, walk them. Otherwise, all that knowledge becomes like a locked treasure chest, heavy, impressive, but useless. There's a story of a woman who worked in corporate HR for 10 years. She knew every policy, every compliance regulation, every workflow system. She was brilliant, but deep inside she felt restless, empty, like a bird in a cage. One day she walked into a community event where a local youth organization was mentoring teenage girls. Something inside her clicked. She realized she wasn't just good at managing people, she was born to develop them. That moment wasn't taught in any classroom. That moment was revelation. It was information coming alive. And in that instant, her frustration turned into focus. She left her job, started mentoring programs, and today she wakes up with fire in her bones. Same skill set, same knowledge. But now it's rooted in revelation. That made all the difference. We were not created to just store facts. We were created to function in purpose. And purpose is not discovered through textbooks. It's uncovered through insight. That's why 2 people can hear the same speech, read the same book, attend the same school, and only one walks away transformed. Because one was listening for information, the other was listening for revelation. When you don't have revelation, even good information can become a burden. You start asking, why do I know so much but feel so lost? Why do I have degrees but no direction? Why am I certified but not satisfied? It's because knowledge without self-awareness leads to confusion. You were never meant to just consume knowledge. You were meant to connect it to who you are. Without that connection, you're just collecting keys with no door. Revelation reveals the door. It shows you, this is your lane. It whispers, this is where your knowledge fits. And once you hear that, frustration breaks. Because everything you once learned suddenly makes sense. The pain you went through, the skills you picked up, the random job you hated, the class you thought was useless. Now, with revelation, you see the thread. You realize none of it was wasted. You were being prepared, but you couldn't see it because you had information, but no revelation. Even your daily life is full of divine whispers. Conversations, failures, successes, delays, they all carry messages. But without revelation, you miss them. You scroll, you rush, you ignore, and then wonder why nothing feels meaningful. But the moment you open your heart and say, what is life trying to show me right now? Everything shifts. That's the power of revelation. It turns ordinary information into personal direction. You can attend every conference, collect every quote, subscribe to every channel, but until your spirit opens to receive insight, you'll remain in a cycle of knowing without becoming. And knowing without becoming is one of the most painful forms of frustration, because you feel like you should be more by now. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, but something's missing. That something is revelation. It bridges the gap between potential and purpose, between information and identity, between education and elevation. Your gift, not your degree, makes room for you. You can walk into any graduation hall and hear the thunderous applause. Caps fly into the air, diplomas held high, and dreams burning in every heart. But somewhere in the middle of that crowd is a silent truth, one that no one dares to speak out loud. That degree, as powerful and beautiful as it may be, is not the thing that will truly open doors in your life. It is not the key that will unlock your future. It is not your education that makes room for you. It is your gift. Your gift is that divine fingerprint placed deep within your soul before you were even aware of who you were. It's the thing you do effortlessly while others struggle. It's the thing that doesn't just make you good, it makes you different. Your degree tells the world what you studied, but your gift reveals why you were born. Your gift is your divine assignment, your natural advantage, your inbuilt calling that no certificate can define. Look at the most impactful people in the world, the ones who shift culture, build empires, inspire nations. Many of them were not celebrated in classrooms. Some even dropped out, but their gift spoke so loudly that the world had to pay attention. Think about it. There are singers who never studied music, yet their voice shifts the atmosphere. There are artists who never went to design school, yet their work sells for millions. There are speakers who never studied communication, but their words carry the weight to break generational chains. Let me tell you something dangerous that we've been taught, that your degree is more valuable than your identity, that your paper is your power. But that's a lie wrapped in tradition. Because you can be educated and still be overlooked if you ignore your gift. You can be credentialed and still feel invisible. But when you activate your gift, when you sharpen it, own it, protect it, it begins to make room for you in places you were never invited to. A woman once told me her story. She had a master's in finance, but she hated every second of her job. Every morning felt like a war zone. Every evening drained her soul. One day she walked away, not because she wasn't smart, but because she wasn't aligned. She went back to the thing she loved doing as a child, baking. She started small, just cupcakes in her kitchen. Her friends laughed. Her family worried. But her gift didn't lie. Within 2 years, she had 3 storefronts and employed people with the same degree she once carried. Her ovens created more room for her than her office ever did. Why? Because your gift is the magnet for your destiny. It draws opportunities people favor and break through. It makes you unforgettable. While others compete for positions, your gift creates platforms. While others beg for jobs, your gift demands attention. The world doesn't open up for people who follow instructions. It opens for those who walk boldly in their uniqueness. And here's what most people don't realize. Your gift isn't always what you studied. It's what you've survived. It's the pain you turned into wisdom. It's the passion that wakes you up at 3 a.m. with fresh ideas. It's the thing you would do for free, but people are willing to pay you for it. Don't bury that under tradition. Don't let culture convince you to silence your genius just to fit into someone else's mold. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out. And your gift is the spotlight. I've seen janitors who are poets. I've met truck drivers who are philosophers. I've sat with waitresses who have the voice of angels. But the world doesn't reward what you hide. It rewards what you express. Your gift doesn't need a podium, it just needs boldness. It doesn't need a perfect resume, it needs relentless courage. When you develop your gift, degrees become optional. That doesn't mean they're worthless. It means they're tools, not your identity. You can add them to your arsenal, but never confuse them for your assignment. Because if you ever had to choose between your diploma and your divine gift, choose the gift every time. Because one opens doors based on protocol, but the other kicks down walls based on power. In a world full of noise, your gift is your voice. It's what sets you apart. It's what gives you access where logic says you don't belong. That's why someone with a high school diploma can become a millionaire, while someone with a PhD can be stuck in mediocrity. It's not about the level of your education. It's about the intensity of your self-awareness. Your gift makes room for you not just in the economy, but in the hearts of people. Because when you operate in your gift, you inspire others to do the same. You give them permission to stop pretending and start becoming. That's impact. That's legacy. You were not created to chase open doors. You were designed to carry a key inside of you. And every time you walk in your gift, doors don't just open. They recognize you. They say, "We've been waiting for you." That's the power of walking in what was already yours. Not what the system gave you, but what the Creator placed in you. Purpose is the real key to success. Purpose is not a theory. It's not a vague idea or some motivational quote on a poster. It's the oxygen of your destiny. Without it, you're breathing but not alive. You're existing but not progressing. Purpose is the one thing that separates a life of survival from a life of significance. You can have all the education, all the credentials, and still feel lost if your purpose is unclear. Because success without purpose is just motion without meaning. It's like running full speed in the wrong direction. Impressive, but pointless. Purpose doesn't come from the classroom. It comes from clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you were born for, and what you are uniquely wired to contribute to the world. It's the reason why someone with less education can outpace someone with multiple degrees. Because purpose gives direction. It eliminates confusion. It tells you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. When you have purpose, you don't waste time trying to fit in. You realize you were born to stand out. There's a man who was once rejected by every university he applied to. He worked in a factory for years. People looked down on him, called him a failure. But every evening after work, he went home and tinkered with machines. He had a passion for fixing things, for inventing. Years later, that man would become the founder of a major car company. His name, Henry Ford. He didn't need a formal education to find his purpose. He needed fire, he needed focus, and that came from knowing why he was alive. You see, purpose is a compass. Education is a tool. If you have the tool but no compass, you'll build impressive structures in the wrong place. But when you have purpose, you know where to dig, where to build, and when to walk away. People admire buildings, but they respect foundations. And your purpose is the foundation of your future. I remember meeting a woman who was a top graduate from a prestigious law school. She had job offers from every big firm, but deep inside she felt empty. The courtroom didn't excite her. The contracts didn't move her. What moved her was working with teenage girls in troubled communities. She turned down 6-figure offers and followed the thing that gave her peace. Today, she runs a mentoring academy that's changing lives. Some call her crazy. I call her clear. Because when you know your purpose, you stop chasing applause and start following assignment. Purpose makes you powerful. Not because of what you do, but because of who you become. It gives you an anchor in the storm. It tells you that rejection is redirection. It tells you that delay is not denial. Because when you are rooted in purpose, you don't panic when doors close. You understand that what's not aligned with your assignment cannot stay. So many people are exhausted not because they're working too hard, but because they're working on the wrong thing. They're grinding in areas that don't feed their soul. They're investing energy into building someone else's dream while there sits in silence. That's what happens when purpose is ignored. You settle for success that looks good but feels bad. You have titles but no truth. Money but no meaning. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. It explains your pain. It redeems your past. It makes every season make sense. That's why some people can endure what others run from. Because when your purpose is strong, your pain becomes fuel. You don't give up because it's hard. You keep going because it's worth it. I've seen young people mocked for their dreams because they didn't have the degrees to back them up. But they had purpose. They had vision. And that vision drove them to study late, to practice hard, to build with broken pieces. Years later, they became the ones others asked for advice. Not because they followed a system, but because they followed a calling. Purpose doesn't guarantee comfort, but it does guarantee fulfillment. You may cry sometimes, you may doubt yourself, but deep down you'll know you're in the right fight. You'll know you're not just working for a paycheck. You're working for impact. You're building something that will outlive you. Education may help you get in the room, but purpose is what keeps you in the room when life gets tough. Purpose makes you irreplaceable. It makes you a voice, not just an echo. It's what turns a job into a mission, a talent into a testimony, a dream into a destiny. Don't waste years trying to impress people who don't even know your purpose. Don't lose sleep over opinions that don't understand your assignment. When you know what you're called to do, you stop trying to be everything to everyone. You focus. You narrow down. Because purpose doesn't require popularity, it requires obedience. You don't need to be accepted by everyone when you've been appointed for something specific. I've seen bus drivers with more joy than CEOs. I've seen janitors with more peace than millionaires. Why? Because purpose doesn't discriminate. It's not about position. It's about alignment. When you're in your lane, life flows. Doors open. Help shows up. And even in the struggle, you feel strength you can't explain. That's the fire of purpose. It keeps you alive when everything else tells you to quit. So here you are, standing at the crossroads of tradition and transformation. One path is well paved, polished with expectations, lined with the applause of others. That's the path most people take. It's safe, predictable, endorsed by society, and decorated with degrees. But the other path, the narrow, uncertain, powerful path, that one is lit by purpose, not permission. That one doesn't come with a map, it comes with a fire. Let me tell you something unforgettable. You were not born to pay bills and die. You were not created just to earn a salary, climb a corporate ladder, and sit in boardrooms where your soul is screaming, but your mouth is smiling. You are more than your resume. You are more than your LinkedIn profile. You are more than your GPA. You are purpose wrapped in skin. You are the answer to a problem this generation is still waiting to see solved. And until you believe that, you'll keep chasing empty trophies and calling it success. Stop living on mute when you were born to be a sound. Stop playing small because someone told you your gift wasn't practical. Listen to me. The graveyard is full of educated people who never walked in purpose. Full of degrees that were framed but never fulfilled. Full of talents that were hidden because someone said, that won't pay the bills. But the richest place on earth is not the bank, it's the cemetery. Because that's where books were never written. Songs never sung. Businesses never launched. Dreams never lived. All because someone believed the lie that education was the only key. You weren't meant to just fit in. You were created to stand out. And standing out starts when you stop waiting for permission to be powerful. Your purpose is your license. Your calling is your contract. And your gift is your currency. It will open doors no education can. It will make people ask, where did you come from? And you'll answer, I came from purpose. I came from the fire. I came from the silence where I discovered my voice. It's time to wake up. This is your wake-up call. Because you're not late, you're just distracted. But today, that ends. Today you choose alignment over a destiny over diplomas. Today you dare to believe the wild thought that maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to be average. That maybe what's in you is bigger than what's around you. That maybe you're the one your bloodline has been waiting for. And you're not here to compete. You're here to complete a work that only your life can finish. You were not put on this earth to survive the weak. You were sent to shift the world, not by copying others, but by becoming fully yourself. Success is not what you do, it's what you carry. It's the weight of your calling. It's the echo of your gift. It's the legacy you leave, not the salary you make. Don't die with your music still inside you. Don't let fear talk you out of your future. Don't let society cage your gift because it doesn't fit their box. Remember, every system rewards obedience, but purpose rewards boldness. And the world doesn't move for the educated, it moves for the awake. Be one of the awakened. Be one of the rare. Be one of the few who looked around and said, I didn't come here to take notes. I came to take over. You are not your job. You are not your title. You are not your past. You are not your failures. You are power in human form. Purpose in motion. Destiny on display. And the moment you accept that truth, the world will begin to recognize your authority. Doors will open not because of your credentials, but because of your conviction. Because when a man or woman moves with purpose, even hell has to get out of the way. Don't just exist live loud. Move boldly. Speak bravely. Walk purposefully. And let your life be the proof that education might be a key. But purpose will always be the door.